Hey, welcome back everyone. It is time for another red hot covered call video. Well, hey, look, today we are going to talk about the poor man's covered call, but we're going to talk about, can you write an in the money poor man's covered call? A lot of people ask me, we buy the Leaps call option for protection, so we have the paper so we can actually write a near-term covered call. Can we do the in the money strike? That's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to run through all of the numbers just so we set this up correctly. So hey, look, if you like the poor man's covered call or anything that has to do with generating premium, writing covered calls, selling cash secure puts, I want you to subscribe to the channel. And hey, look, if you like this video today, bang that like button. It lets me know you like what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is this. We're talking about a poor man's covered call trade and writing an in the money covered call. Now let me summarize that quickly. Stock's trading at $111.25. We're actually going to buy a Leaps call option. We're going to talk about the one we're going to buy here in a moment. Then we're going to write a near-term covered call, a 30-day covered call. Usually, we write the at the money or one strike out of the money, and then we let the trade go and see if our shares are taken away. Most of the time when the stock's trading around 111.25, we would look to sell the 112 strike, giving somebody the right but not the obligation to take our shares at 112. Or we might even write the 113, 114, or 115. Those would be out of the money strikes. See, the stock's trading at 111.25, so anything above the strike price would be considered out of the money. Now, we're thinking about using the poor man's covered call for an in-the-money strike. And what that means is this. Stock's trading for 111.25, we're going to give somebody the right to take our shares away from us at 108. The stock is trading higher than our strike price. Let's run the numbers and see what that looks like. Now, as you can see, I plugged in the numbers for the Leaps call option we're going to purchase for this. Now, I love to buy the Leaps call options that are the 95 Delta because what I want to do is simulate stock ownership with this Leaps call option. See, I'm not going to buy the shares. I'm not going to pay $11,125 for 100 shares of AMD. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out about 6 months. And you can see I picked the March 15th, 2024 Leaps call option, and we're picking the 70 strike, meaning I'm buying the right but not the obligation to take somebody's shares at 70, and I'm going to pay $43.45 for this right. Now, from the current stock price of $111.25 to 70, which is my Leaps call option strike price, there is intrinsic value and time value in that option. Remember, I'm paying $43.45. What is the difference between $111.25 and 70? Well, when you come up with that number, you have intrinsic value, for which nobody makes a profit, and then you have time value. And in this case, it's $2.20 per share, or 2.98%. So that's what we're paying somebody the right to have the ability to take their shares. So we need to make that on our very first trade because we're actually giving somebody our shares at 108, which the stock is already trading higher. So when we do the math, that's going to be the Leaps call option purchase. Now we're going to run the numbers for a near-term covered call for which is in the money. Now I picked the 108 strike, and the 108 strike at the time of this trade setup was paying $6.60. So for giving somebody the right to take my shares away from me at 108, they paid me $6.60. So there's your setup. We bought the Leaps call option and we wrote the near-term covered call. Let's go to the tracker and see how the numbers play out. Because remember, I paid this guy some 2% to have the right to take his shares at 70. I better be able to make that money back or else this trade will lose money. Because I'm giving my shares away at 108 when the stock's trading at 111. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tracker and see where we're at. Now, real quick, I do this all the time for my members, and I send out emails talking about all kinds of things that talk about generating income using the selling premium strategy. Just today, I sent an email about writing short-term 11-day trades, making 1.5%, selling in-the-money strikes on some of the more higher volatile stocks. And I went ahead and gave him 3 examples. This is a classic example where we're going to do a video that if you're not a member, you will not see, because we're going to talk more and more about using the in-the-money strike as the stock market fluctuates. So look, if you want to take a peek over a successful active trader's shoulder, you need to be a member. And if you go to cptdashboard.com, click Upgraded Dashboard, I give you a 1 free month offer. Being a member, there's so much content, it's all actionable. Hey look, cptdashboard.com, click Upgraded Dashboard, get your 1 free month offer. Now in the description below is your link to get this tracker. Okay, got to put a little skin in the game. We are donating all the money to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. October's numbers came in. I'm going to be scratching a check this week. I absolutely love it when I can create valuable tools for all you selling premium traders, and we can actually help out. And that's what we're going to do. And in fact, that's what we have been doing for the past 2 months. So in the description below, get your very own copy. And oh, by the way, you get 1 free month of my membership for putting skin in the game. Now let's go ahead and get back to this trade, because I'm actually curious myself. Now I've already ran the numbers, so I already know what's going to happen. But I want to run through these numbers so we understand it. And I hate to be redundant. We need to know the numbers because we have to be successful on our very first trade. We don't want to lose money on that Leaps call option. And this is how we find out if we're going to be profitable or not. Now, in the new Poor Man's Covered Call Tracker, you have where might my Leaps call option be priced at the strike price I pick. And you can see it right here. So what we're going to do is plug in those numbers and see where we're at. And in fact, you might even want to do this before you buy that Leaps call option. So in this case, the stock was trading at 111.25, and the real-time options price will be $6.60 because that's what we're going to get paid for that 108 strike. Now, when we do that, you can clearly see there is a $3.25 difference in the current stock price and the strike price. So there's your debit right there. Now, what we need is that covered call premium to cover it all. But where are we at with our Leaps call option? Well, the Leaps call option was a 95 delta. You can see it right there. That Leaps call option, in theory, it's going to move 95.6% of a $1 move in AMD. So when we run the numbers through the calculator, you see that the stock difference is $3.25. My Leaps pricing is $3.11. See how that works? It's a 95.6% difference, and we can assume that's what our Leaps call option is going to be deducted, $3.11 in value. Because again, we're giving our shares away to somebody at a lesser value, 108. Looking at the numbers, our Leaps call option value will be $40.14. When we plug that number into the current value, and you can see this is the value that we bought the Leaps call option, we're going to give somebody the right to take them away at 108. So that means our Leaps call option is going to fall, which means this is going to be a debit. So we're going to have a credit here and a debit here and see what we come up with. Every option has intrinsic value and time value. There's $3.25 of intrinsic value plus the time value, which equals $3.35. So when you add these two up, this actually equals the $6.60 we received in covered call premium. So now when we run the numbers, I think it's starting to become very clear that we can actually write an in-the-money covered call and collect a decent amount of premium for the money invested. So let's hypothetically plug in the $40.14 into our tracker and see what our debit will be. And sure enough, when we plug in the numbers, we are giving away our shares at 108. Our Leaps call option for which we're going to sell is valued approximately $3.15 lower because that's all we're going to get paid, right? We're going to get the covered call premium, cash on the table. Then we're going to give our shares away at 108, which means when we close this trade, our Leaps call option is only going to be worth $40.14. Which means we collect the difference, which will be about $349 on $4,325 invested. Let me go ahead and summarize all this in absolute 100% straight talk style. When we entered this trade, we had to pay $43.25. That's our debit for buying the Leaps call option. Our true debit is $43.25. So when we write the covered call, for which we're going to have our shares taken away at 108, we have to deduct that from what our Leaps call option will be priced. And in this case, it's going to be $40.14. So when we sell our Leaps call option, we're going to lose a fat $311. So that is the brass tacks. We bought the Leaps call option at $43.25, and when the trade ends, it's only going to be worth $40.14. Where did we make up the difference to make this profitable? And that's where the covered call premium comes in. And sure enough, we're given $6.60. Half of that is eroded because that's intrinsic value in the option. Nobody makes money on that. Now the question is, does the premium or the time value portion cover the $311 debit for which I'm going to have to sell my Leaps call option for some 30 days later? And when we run those numbers, it does work out. If this is all a little confusing and you'd like to know more about this, you can absolutely comment below, or you can become a member and have access to me, and I'll answer your questions directly. Using the poor man's covered call is a way to write near-term covered calls as if you have the shares. Remember, we're simulating stock ownership when we buy that Leaps call option, and it gives us protection. Now, if you wanted to write that in-the-money strike, which is even more conservative, well, are you going to make money? Well, guess what? The tracker helps you keep all these numbers in front of you. In the description below is your link to pick up this brand new 2023 Poor Man's Covered Call Tracker with all the calculators and the initial trade setup. If you put skin in the game, I'm donating all that money to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, and you get 1 free month of my membership. Hey, look, for anyone that emailed me about can we write an in-the-money covered call using the Poor Man's Covered Call, I think that answers it. And if it doesn't, watch the video again. I tried to lay it out as simple as possible, and at the end, when I ran the numbers myself, I realized we can actually write in-the-money covered calls with the Poor Man's Covered Call investment strategy. Hey, look, be safe, be healthy, most important, be lucky. Until next time, may all your covered calls be profitable.